Welcome to the Charity Matters podcast. I'm Heidi Johnson, nonprofit founder, storyteller, and lifelong helper. For more than a decade, I've been amplifying the voices of modern day heroes, people who solve real problems with heart, courage, and service. As we launch season 10, we continue our mission of helping the helpers and reminding the world that meaningful change happens one small act of kindness at a time. Did you know that over 5.2 million children are hospitalized in the United States each year? Today's guest is no stranger to this fact, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Tammy Kraus, the founder of Bags of Fun. I cannot wait to share her amazing journey and our inspiring conversation about all that Tammy is doing to make a huge difference in our world and in the lives of so many children. I'm so excited to have Tammy Kraus from Bags of Fun here today. After 15 years, I cannot believe that our last conversation was in 2011, but welcome back, Tammy. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thanks, Heidi. Thanks so much for having me.
It's really fantastic. And I think about how much has happened to both of us in 15 years and the things that we've done. So I'm really excited to share for people that obviously haven't heard, because 15 years ago, there were not podcasts. People were reading about your work and not hearing your voice and getting to know you and your story. So it's really such a treat. So I thought we'd just dive in. And why don't you tell us what Bags of Fun does? Your name is a little bit a giveaway, but
It certainly is. So bags of fun are big backpacks full of toys that are very intentional for kids with long-term and life-threatening illnesses, which is a simple explanation. But they are custom created for kids with long-term and life-threatening illnesses. They started off for kids with cancer, and then quickly expanded to other kids in the hospital with medical conditions, from kidney dialysis to major organ transplant to other chronic and long-term life-threatening illnesses. And then we can get into this a little bit later in the conversation, but in the spring of 2021, Colorado declared a state of emergency for adolescent mental health. So interestingly, we picked up the adolescent mental health population as well, and so
wow.
we are doing Bags of Fun for that population. And I know, Heidi, you've talked to a lot of people in that area as well. So
Yeah,
it's been really interesting for us to take on that population.
absolutely. And I was a trustee at Children's Hospital and really involved with Children's Hospital, as you know, when I started a nonprofit Children's Hospital in 2003, and I know you guys started in 2004, and you and I were kind of coming up in the ranks at the same time when we last spoke. But to see the mental health crisis that has changed really since COVID has really been unbelievable. From my involvement with Children's Hospital and also running a youth leadership organization and working with thousands of kids every year. I'm really grateful to hear that you're doing that, and I'm excited to get a little bit more into it. But let's rewind and back up the tape back when people remembered what tapes were, and talk about kind of really early beginnings, because I think when we're so busy doing this work that we don't pause to look back to how we got here, and there were probably early signs, whether it was a mentor or it was something in your early childhood that might have tipped you off that you had kind of a penchant for this work, which, as we all know, is incredibly difficult and incredibly rewarding. So, like, talk to me about kind of your earlier, roots with giving and.
Heidi, I was very blessed. I mean, I grew up in a family of amazing women, teachers, nurses, people who gave back from an early age. Um, we would collect things for extra school supplies when we went school supply shopping when we were young. We went caroling at the public hospitals at Christmas time with our family. I know it sounds silly. People don't do that anymore.
No, I do it at the VA. I do it every year.
When we were young, my mom actually ran a nonprofit, so taught me a lot about what I knew. She was
Wow.
heavily involved with CASA, which is court appointed special advocates
Yeah,
for abused kids. So I learned really very early on about giving back in the community and how important it was. So,
I
um,
love that.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
I
just
had,
think it's so huge. And those role models and those early, for any young parents listening, it's so important that we model the work, right?
yep, it really is. And I was very blessed that way. Had amazing role models in my life growing up. So.
That's speaks volumes. And I love that your mom, and actually, I mean, not saying that, but I know how old I am, but I think about like, my mom in the 70s there weren't a lot of women running I mean, it just wasn't like it is now and the opportunities. So that's really incredible that your mom was doing that. She was ahead of the curve, which is
She
awesome.
she really was, and she taught me. I used to make fun of her because she signed every single letter to every single donor, and now my people kind of roll their eyes that I encourage the same thing still.
I love that. I love that. That's so good. So I know, I obviously know your story, but I think um, it's really at the root, I think, of for me of these conversations, because I think we can't get through life without having things happen. It's life. We all have things that are not great, some things that are really hard and really difficult. And I know you had one of the most difficult experiences you can have as a human being on this planet. But it's what we do with those that I think that with how we take that and turn the script and flip it and use that pain for fuel for good. And so I'd love for you to share kind of the moment and how this all came to be, because you don't just wake up and say, I'm going to start a nonprofit. There's a series of events that happens that triggers this. And so I'd love for you to share, especially about Gabby, because her legacy is all over this, and share kind of how this all came together.
Yeah, so Gabby was diagnosed with a brain tumor the day before her fifth birthday. She was the middle of four kids. And so my background was special education. So that all kind of came together because she had a bag she took with her to and from the hospital. She was not a TV watcher. We were getting her ready for kindergarten. So her bag had certain things in it, things that she could play with her brothers and sisters when they came to visit during her treatments, things that were fun, things that were manipulative, just stuff that kept her busy. And
Right.
she called it her bag of fun. She had it. She shared. As I mentioned earlier, we were super lucky that we had a ton of support. I was born and raised in Colorado, had a big family that was very supportive, had a lot of friends. We just were very lucky. We were blessed in a terrible situation. We
Right.
were we were blessed that we had a lot of support.
I
She
get
called it
that.
her bag of fun. She asked why the other kids didn't have one. She was great about sharing her toys. I always laughed that that was great, but we had lots of extra toys at home. So
Hmm.
she asked me during treatment why the other kids didn't have a bag like hers. So we had the conversation that we would get the other kids bags of fun when she was done with her treatment. And unfortunately, she was never finished with her treatment. She was sent home with no other treatment options and was home for about a month on hospice before she passed away. And I sat with friends and said, what are we going to do? How do I do this? I mean, I had three other kids that I had to get up out of bed for. And
Right.
thank goodness I did.
Right. Right.
Yep,
Right.
yep. I mean, a
Good
huge,
and bad. Good and
yes,
bad. But right.
exactly. I mean, the day after Gabby's funeral, I went and coached my second daughter in a soccer tournament. I think
Wow.
some of our community thought I was crazy, and
Yeah.
and that's okay.
You're right.
And we
You do whatever
literally,
you have to do, right?
exactly.
Whatever
And
gets you through, whatever it
we
is.
started Bags of Fun. I had my first meeting 3 weeks after she passed away with anyone who would
Wow.
listen and had great people around me, great women. The organization was run for 2 years completely by volunteers. And so that's where we started. And we started
Wow.
specifically with kids with cancer, and the bags were modeled after her bag. They had about 17 to 18 items in them. Some were manipulative, educational, fun, something you can play with by yourself, something you can play with someone else. We get our list directly from the hospital for all of our medical bags. So the hospital
Right.
requests them. So they're age, gender, and diagnosis specific. They're not in a warehouse. So every single medical bag is custom created for each kid.
Wow, that's incredible. So I think about, you know, I started a nonprofit grieving from a loss with my mother, not a child, which is totally different. And I had young kids. And I think back about like, how did you do that? And it's kind of a blur for me, but I mean, thinking back to the early days when you were starting, when you're juggling laundry, carpool, maybe even kids in diapers. I don't even know how young your littlest were, but and starting a nonprofit, like what was the challenges? I mean, just and grief, like you have an elephant in the room with you. And yet, I do know it's such a healing. Doing this does heal in such incredible ways. But talk to me about those challenges in the early days of launching a nonprofit, knowing you have to do this, but just kind of jumping in the deep end and figuring this out.
Like you said, Heidi, I mean, a lot of it, I mean, there was so much healing involved with it. There was also a lot of community around it, and a lot of
Right,
community helped with the grief. My
right,
youngest was 4, my oldest was 10. The kids were involved with it, our friends were involved with it. Or the fundraiser we still do now, 21 years later, is a huge family fundraiser. So everybody decided that's how we were going to focus it. You know, serendipitously, our neighbors across the street ran a restaurant. They donated the food for the first fundraising event. I mean, the challenges, like any nonprofit, are, where are you going to have an event? What's it going to be like? Who's going to
right,
come? How are you going to do it? Again, the community around us was incredibly supportive. Gabby's fight was pretty public for a little 5, 6-year-old who had cancer. There weren't,
right,
in 2003, there weren't a lot of people who had their bald kid out at soccer games and football games and
right,
or kids swimming meets and things like that.
right.
So, yeah, I mean, it was definitely challenging, and we were super blessed in our community. Again, the people around us, and I think that's where we told people directly what we were doing. We were really transparent about it. It was very clear we were doing one thing. We were going to
Right,
create these custom bags for kids who were sick. They were very specific, they were very intentional, and I think that helped. I think we had one goal, we had one thing.
right,
In Colorado, there are 2 children's hospitals who treat children with cancer and other long-term medical illnesses. That makes it a little bit easier. It's a little different than
right.
California or Florida.
Yeah, we have 8, right,
Yeah, hospitals.
right.
But yeah, so we were, it was definitely part of my healing. There's no question.
And I have really been doing a lot of speaking in the last year or two, especially last year when the book came out, um, and really so much of my message because so many people I talk to, so many of us who've started organizations, we didn't we didn't do it to heal. We did it because we knew we had to do it. I mean, Gabby obviously told you this is what she wanted, and you did it. And so many people have had such similar stories, and all of us have found purpose in our pain, and all of us have found joy and grief coexisting. Where I think people who can let grief swallow them up, which there's no judgment because grief does swallow you up. There's moments you do get swallowed up. But but I think for people that really choose the path of taking that pain and doing something positive with it, it is such a healing, cathartic process. And then you end up, you have a daily legacy of Gabby lives on in every bag you give to everybody. I mean that her joy is a gift that continues, and there's something so cathartic about that.
Oh, 100%. There's no question. And I have, just like everybody else, since Gabby passed away, I have a handful of friends whose children have passed away since in different circumstances, most of which are, accidents, which is a different circumstance
Right.
as well, as you know, a parent
Right.
passing, a child passing who is passing versus one passing in a
Right.
car accident or another tragic accident is very different.
Very different.
And, one of the things that I do recognize very much is I could talk about her almost daily.
Right.
And, almost every day, if not every day, almost every day.
Right.
My license
Right.
plate says bags of fun for crying out loud. So,
Well, because she's part of you and her work lives on. So, what fuels you to do this, especially when you were dealing with a 4-year-old, a 10-year-old, grief, starting all of this? What really fueled you to keep going, and when did you really realize you were making a difference?
we delivered our very first bag before we even had our first event because we were lucky again. The community came around us and we had a request for a bag for a little boy named Garrison Hayes who was 6 years old, and he had an ependymoma and had a he had a tumor in his knee. And so they amputated his leg and they did this crazy thing where they replaced his knee joint with his ankle joint. I don't know what
Oh,
it's called, but it's a special surgery. And we went in and delivered that first bag, and this little boy was so excited he could hardly stand it. He spoke at
mm.
our 20th anniversary a year and a half ago at our event.
Oh,
He came to us about 14 years ago and said, "My backpack just broke. Can I just get a new backpack? Because I love my Bags of Fun backpack." So just a dear, dear, dear kid, a dear family. They've stayed in touch. So that first bag that we delivered, we knew we were going to make a difference. And ever since then, and I still deliver bags personally, not as much as I used to.
oh,
And
right,
post-COVID, that's changed a lot.
right,
But it's a smile, it's a relief for a family. And like you said earlier, you know, joy and heartbreak and grief, they all can exist together. And
right,
joy has kind of become a tool. For a while, one of our taglines was "Play is the best medicine around," but it's bigger than that. I mean, joy
right.
joy is a tool that can help with heartbreak. And I think
100%.
anyone who has experienced grief and grief of a sudden accident, grief of a loss, unfortunately, we had a relative that passed away a couple weeks ago, and he had 5 kids and 3 in-laws and 4 grandkids. But
Oh,
even seeing those people join together and come together for his funeral, there was joy in that. There was joy in the
right,
stories they were telling about him, right?
right,
So
right.
it's a hard thing. And when there is loss and grief, joy also can exist at the same time. You can walk into a hospital room and have a horrible diagnosis and a sad situation, and joy can exist at the same time. So when you can see,
100%.
it's really, really,
100%.
but it drives you every day.
Right. 100%. And that's really like the mission, is to continue to find that joy, to look for that joy, to bring the joy. And I think it's all of us. We all have that responsibility, whether we're running nonprofits or not, we all have that responsibility to look for joy, create joy, find it, because it's there. We just have to really focus on it. So
And have
tell
you,
me about what success looks like for you, because I know, one of the words that I really hate, and I say this in every conversation, but it is just true. Every time I write a grant or something, the impact, you talk about Garrison, you can't measure that story of a young man who's had his backpack for all these years and what it did for him and how it got him through a hard time. And there's no measuring that impact for a grant application. But what does impact, look like for you in other ways? Garrison's story is a beautiful example of impact, but you guys have also expanded and done so much. So talk to me about what numbers, stories, what is it?
yeah, for our impact, it's the same. It's so true about impact too. We can't say our backpacks cure someone, right?
Right.
So we can tell you we've given out over 17,000 backpacks. We can tell you how many we give
Wow.
out a week. We can talk about the mental health backpacks, and that number has far exceeded our medical bags, which is interesting. We
Wow.
can talk about the cost of the backpacks. We can talk about how the electronics have changed over the years. I mean, there's lots of different pieces of that. But, the impact on the families. And, one of our other really big impacts is just on our communities of volunteers. When we talk about joy, we also talk about the joy it brings our volunteers who come into our office.
Amen. Yes.
And we have volunteers of all ages that come in. We have high school kids that come in and put bags together. We have grandparents who come in and put bags together. We have grandparents with grandkids that come in and put bags together. So, our community is a big, big piece of all the pieces have to fit together to make a
Mm,
nonprofit work,
A
right? So
100%.
it's your program, it's your volunteers, it's your fundraising, it's all of those
Right?
pieces come together. So yeah, so when we talk about impact, it's I mean, our numbers of bags is amazing. The value of a bag, the cost of a bag, the amount of fundraising, the amount of volunteers that we have come in, um, all of those pieces come together to make it work.
Well, and I think community it's at the core of all of it, right? Because that's really one of the jobs that we're responsible for creating connection and community and bringing people to the party and saying, "Hey, come and help. This is really amazing. We want you to be a part of it." And people are looking for, you know, the purpose that we have found, people want that in their lives. They want the purpose, they want the joy, they want the connection. And all of those things are things you get when you help someone. And when you come and volunteer, you are joyful, you are happy, you are connected, you are part of something bigger than yourself. And so we offer this place saying, welcome, come, we build it. And we hope that they do. And it's one of the greatest things about our jobs, I think, is just having that community that we've built around a mission. And I think it's just one of the most rewarding things that I think as a nonprofit founder too.
Oh, absolutely. And you have volunteers come in who maybe haven't put a bag together before, whether it be a medical bag or one of our mental health bags, and they'll go through the bag of toys. And I mean, Heidi, it doesn't matter who it is, they'll pull something out. Oh my gosh, what about this? Or the new clay that's in it, or the new toy that's in it, or the new. I mean, we have a partnership with the Colorado Avalanche here, and they had some of the Avalanche player wives come in. And they came in and put some bags together and they were so cute. First of all, so young. And then second of all, they came in and they were pulling the toys and putting the medical bags. And they're like, I had this when I was little and I played with this and oh my gosh, this toy. And that's my favorite game. And their Guess Who game is in there. And I mean, it's just
Oh my gosh,
really
I
joy
love
to
that.
them to put the bags together. So.
See, and that's such a gift. So talk to me. I mean, you can't be an entrepreneur and a business person, which people often forget that we are as nonprofit founders. They somehow, I don't know, we get put in this weird category, but at the end of the day, we start a business and we're running a business. And in order to be a leader and an entrepreneur, you have to have a vision and a dream and a plan. And when you started this, I'm sure you weren't thinking about 17,000 bags. You were thinking about one child. You were thinking about, you know, a small, simple step that has grown and grown and grown. So what's the dream now going forward? I mean, I've seen you've got a couple other hospitals that you're in, a few other chapters. So what's the dream?
We do. We are in Omaha and Kansas City. So Kansas City's just starting their 16th year. Omaha is just the
Wow.
beginning of their sixth year. So that's really exciting in both of those places. And I lots of dreams. I mean, one of the things I think is we're growing. We have to make sure that we're serving our core mission, and that's one
Right.
of the things that we have to continue to ensure that we're serving that core mission of making sure that those bags, the integrity of the bags, the impact of the bags, and I mean, my dream is always to start more places, serve more hospitals, serve more
Right.
kids. As far as a big, big dream. In Colorado, one of our dreams is one of our big, when you talk about those big hairy goals and those big, big dreams in
Right.
Colorado, Colorado desperately needs a nonprofit building mission place for nonprofits to host events. It sounds like a
Oh,
crazy thing, Heidi.
no, it's a brilliant
It's
idea.
as big as Denver is and as big as Colorado is. there are not a lot of big spaces for big events in Colorado where nonprofits can bring things or bring
That's
caterers or
such a
have the
great
kind of events that they
idea.
want that
Right?
are reasonable in cost. So
Right.
that's one of those. I just keep putting that out into the atmosphere and
I
having,
think you should.
couple friends
I
anyway. But so that's one for Colorado. Because of my background and because of the people that my mom and other people that I knew and mentors that I had, the nonprofit people, one of Bags of Fun's things is, playing nice in the sandbox with other nonprofits. There's enough to go around.
amen to that. Right?
And
What
yes,
I could
we
not agree with you more.
I answered a phone call the other day here, and somebody said they needed to come in, and they had a group of 12 people who they needed to volunteer by the end of April. And unfortunately, our volunteer calendar is full. And I said, but you can call this place, this place, this place, and this place, and here are the people to call at those places. And this person was so shocked that I knew the names of the people that, who the volunteer coordinators were at these other places. And he said, well, that's really helpful. Thank you. And then, of course, the volunteer coordinators from those places called me and thanked me because I know they can use 12 people on
Right. Of
notice.
course. Of
Yes.
course. I mean, yeah, I don't understand I don't get the competitive thing. That's just not, we're all here to serve one another. That I'm so with you on that. But I love the idea of a nonprofit space. And that goes for every state in this country. I mean, every major metropolitan area. We all need them. We don't have one in Los Angeles that I know
Yeah.
of. I
Yeah.
mean, we have 8 million people here, and I don't believe we have a space that we can access or check out or reserve or brilliant, brilliant. I think you're onto something really big there, by the way. I think everyone listening is like, hey, I want one of those spaces too. I actually had a conversation the other day with I run a youth leadership organization, and I work with Catholic schools, and I had this very big funder that had said, well, Heidi, like we don't fund programs, we only build buildings. Do you need a building? And I'm like, no, what would I do with a building? I said, but it would be great if there was like a communal space for kids, for high school kids to come together that I could check out from time to time. So I was having a similar conversation in a different way just the other day. And it's like, well, let's talk about that. I said, yeah, okay, sure. But I don't really need a building, but if you want to build something, I'm sure I could find a way to use it. So anyway, I love that. So talk to me about, I mean, 2004, it's been a minute since this journey has began. And talk to me about, some of the life lessons you've learned since doing this work. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. And there's so much in just from loss that comes out of learning from loss, but there's so many lessons in giving and serving and in all the joy and goodness you have brought to 17,000 little smiling faces and families. I mean, that's a lot of people, Tammy.
It is a lot. And I think when we grew into the adolescent mental health area, it was really interesting and it was challenging in a way that was different for us. And our responsibility grew there and
Right,
it grew. Our board kind of hesitated a little bit, saying, is this mission creep? Is this what you're doing? Is this your same mission? And we argued that it was.
right,
Our mission is long-term and life-threatening illnesses. And that
right,
mission was written very specifically, not specific for cancer for a reason.
right,
And that was written because at the time when Gabby passed away, she had two cousins, one cousin with Down syndrome and another cousin with severe special needs. And so that mission was written that if those children, specifically those two boys,
right,
really anyone else in that area also needed to be helped, we wanted to be able to provide bags of fun for them. And it was
right,
specifically bags of fun. It wasn't doing, a big bunch of stuff beyond that.
right.
But what does a bag of fun look like for an adolescent, a kid
Yeah,
in that crisis? So we
right,
sat down and worked with the child life specialist, the social workers, the psychologists, the occupational therapists, because those bags
right,
are a little bit different, but they still
right.
fit the model of something educational, something fun, something manipulative, something you can do for someone, something with someone else, something you can do with by yourself. But they actually use these bags as a discharge tool. And
Oh, interesting.
because depending on which study you read, and so I'm not going to get into too much scientific stuff here,
Right.
within about, depending on which study you read, it can take 90 seconds to 4 minutes to get something to prevent a kid from self-harming. So
Wow.
what's in these bags is meant for that. So it's also
Wow.
comforting. But again, they fit and they are custom designed for these kids and for these facilities. So in Colorado, we serve three different adults mental health facilities. In Nebraska, they're serving three different mental health facilities right now. And in I think Kansas City's actually serving three as well, which is just a coincidence. But Heidi, the need is so much stronger in all
Oh,
locations.
I can't believe you have three mental health facilities. I'm just going to say that. So being
Oh,
on the
there's
board
more.
of
We're doing
Right. We don't
hundreds.
even have them. We don't even have them. We have 18 mental health beds in LA County. 18
Yeah.
with 8 million people. We have 18. And I know this from being involved with Children's Hospital Los Angeles, that what happens, even if I am a parent and I go to a pediatrician and I say I'm concerned about my child's mental well-being, the pediatrician has no resources and nowhere to go. There's no infrastructure in LA of where to go to help that
That's
child.
no, that's crazy. Yeah,
It's insane.
so in Colorado, we're doing 100 mental health bags a month, and the need is probably closer to 150, which we just
Wow.
can't support right now.
Right, right.
Nebraska is doing about 45. Their needs about 100. Omaha just opened a new behavioral health facility, and then Kansas City, and it's just, I mean, it just continues to grow. That,
Wow. I
that
mean, it's real. I mean, it is real and it is tragic and it is an epidemic. And there's a reason that I'm trying to think of what the doctor what's our government, the head of medicine. I'm trying to think of his name. Well, at least in the last administration, I heard him speak at UCLA, and I can't think of, he was in the last administration, but when he made mental health, national epidemic and a crisis, and it's legit, it's real. But let's go back to the lessons you've learned.
Yeah. I think as we grow, I think one of the things that I get very excited about growth and I get excited about expansion. And I think one of the lessons that I've learned is sometimes you have to stay focused and stay intentional and remember that that we're here to serve and we're here to serve our families and making sure that we're doing it intentionally.
Right,
I think that's one of the huge things, and that, we lead by supporting each other.
right.
I mean, that's
Amen.
that's that's just the biggest thing I think of all. We're a women-run business, and we're here to support each other.
I mean, that's really, if that isn't the message of why we're all here, I mean,
Right.
literally, we're all here to find our gifts and to figure out how to give them away. And it's just that simple. It's just
Yep.
that simple. People make things so complicated. It's like, it just isn't that difficult. Like, what are you good at and where can you help? Like, it's that simple. It really is.
Well, and Heidi, it really is. It's interesting too, because as you get bigger and bigger, we've had a couple of just bumps in the road with just natural things of growing and
Right,
having 18 people on your staff, and someone's like, you don't have this, you don't have that. I'm like, people, this is about
right,
fun.
right.
We're here to serve each other. We're here to help each other. Let's not complicate it.
Well, and we can be our own worst enemies, right? Because we all start out with the intention of helping one person or doing one small act of kindness, and all of a sudden we start moving the goalpost, and our boards move the goalpost, and that's a great thing because it stretches us. And foundations move the goalpost. Well, if you can achieve this, we'll give you this, and it's great because we grow with that. But it's really easy to say we're not doing enough, and rather than stop and say, no, we're doing exactly what we set out to be doing, and this is great. Like what we're doing is good. And I think I catch myself kind of reminding our board of that every now and again, saying, no, I don't want to hear this is bad. Like we served 3,000 kids last year. Like this is fantastic. Like we don't need to be serving 5,000, we have to be celebrating what we're doing.
Right, right. And I think that's really important too. I mean, I think it's Omaha just had an event last week, and that was on Friday night. And I was talking to the director of Omaha on Saturday on my way home from the airport and said, celebrate on Monday, right? Celebrate, celebrate, take a
Hmm.
breath, celebrate. I mean, call your donors, but celebrate,
Right?
right?
Right? Well, and I think it's so important. And I also think we're always so busy looking ahead that we don't stop and just kind of do a little pat on the back and say, you know, we did a good job today. We did, because it's really easy to get burned out if you're not stopping and celebrating and getting excited about the things that you're doing. And you're doing something really fun and really special, and every day should be a celebration. I know every day isn't, but I know that it has the opportunity to be one with what you're doing, which I think is bringing so much joy. But how do you think you've changed since all of this has happened? Or do you think you've changed? Maybe you haven't. I don't know.
I think, I've learned that everyone has a story to tell and everyone
Right.
has their own story they're bringing to an organization, be them a donor or a volunteer or a bag recipient or a bag recipient family.
Right.
How have I changed? I I hope I've gotten more patient. I think I have. I mean, as far as learning about nonprofit and learning about the community, I think I've learned to trust the community more and trust
Right.
that instead of pushing so hard for we got to do this, we have to do this. I think my patience has gotten better and I think that's part of trusting that Bags of Fun will be here. We've been here for 21
Right. Yeah. I don't think you're going anywhere,
and
Tammy.
that trusting that when things do change, it's going to be okay.
Right. Right. Because things always change,
They
right? If
sure
there's
do.
they always they always change. We can't, that's one thing we cannot control. We know that things are going to change. And I think that that's hard. I'm not speaking for you, but I know that I am super type A, and a lot of people that it's not a control as a founder. It's just that it's hard sometimes to let go of some of the things that we do and watch them change. And it usually ends up being great. But for me, it's been a lesson in letting go and a lot of different things and kind of giving, like, okay, like, I'm not going to hold on to that. Like, you got this. Like,
Right.
I can only hold so much, and take it. It's yours. Right.
Yep. No, 100%. Yes. I think, and I think, like I said, trusting, being a little bit more
Right.
patient and trusting a little bit more that things are in the right place. Things are going to be okay.
And you know what? I think things are okay, and I think celebrating them, and I think all the things that you're doing to bring, oh my God, so many thousands of kids. I just can't even imagine. I just have a vision of 17,000 little smiling faces and bags in one space. And I mean, that is bigger than the city I raised my kids in. I mean, San Marino only had 13,000 people in it. And, you serve more than that, every person in that community. So when you think about the numbers, so, I mean, that's just so incredible. And it's also so incredible that 15 years later, we're having this conversation. And I just love, not that I'm measuring anything, and this is not about, but it's just really exciting to see all the goodness you continue to spread and do. So tell us how we can support you, follow you, volunteer, donate, any and all of it.
So, I mean, so right now, if you're in Kansas City or Omaha or Colorado, we would love to have you reach out to us. All three locations use volunteers all the time. Omaha has a golf tournament coming up. Kansas City has an event. They have an event called Dancing with the Stars coming up. They also have their gala in September. Colorado has a golf tournament in June. Our big event is in the fall. We actually have to wait for the Denver Broncos schedule to come out because that's where we have to have our event. So we have 4 dates saved. Speaking of my building that I need, because
Right?
no place big enough other than Mile High Stadium to have our event. Our event's a big family event. So visit our website. So those are all the big places.
Bagsoffun.org is the website.
Bagsofun.org is the website. Yep. You can follow
And
us.
I'm guessing you're on social media as
We
well.
are on Instagram and Facebook. So
Awesome.
any
I
are
love
great.
that.
If your
Tammy, I
if your buddy that
okay.
wants to build a building wants to come visit me in Colorado, I have a plan. I know what I need.
I'll talk to them because they do get around a little bit. They help Catholic schools all over the country. So you never know.
So,
I'm happy to we can talk offline after we're done and I
yes,
have
so
a couple
Heidi, that's where
thoughts.
I got my feet wet in fundraising was at my kids' Catholic school. So,
There you go, right? A lot of good things starts in Catholic schools.
yep,
It really does. At least if nothing else, we are taught to help each other. So
that
there's definitely that. And I am so grateful for you and all of the help isn't even the right word, all of the joy that you are bringing to so many families who need it. And in such a trying time. So thank you, Tammy. Thank you for coming back and joining us. Thank you for all you're doing to brighten so many, and thank you for just inspiring us all on giving because really it is that simple. And I just love what you're doing.
Well, Heidi, thank you. And thank you for sharing everybody's stories. Like I said, I do, I listen to you. I have followed you for a long time. And I mean, the stories that you share are so inspirational and really, really impactful. And I personally love hearing the stories that you share of all the people that are doing great work around the country. So I appreciate it.
Well, just like you, and I really thank you, Tammy. It's a privilege to have these conversations, and nothing makes me happier than sharing them and inspiring other people to catch the bug that you and I have caught. And I hope it's a massive epidemic that everybody wants to serve and help one another because that's really what we want to spread. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Charity Matters podcast. I so enjoyed my conversation with Tammy Krause and hearing how her work is truly changing lives. Her insight about really realizing that everyone has a story is something I'll be thinking about long after this conversation. If you'd like to learn more about today's guest or other modern day heroes, visit us at charity-matters.com. or on Instagram at Charity Matters. And if this episode inspired you, which I hope it did, please share it with someone you care about. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps these stories reach and change more hearts. But more than anything, thank you for caring. Thank you for believing in goodness and for being a part of our Charity Matters community. You are exactly what this world needs more of. And remember, together, we can make a difference. One small act of kindness at a time. Charity matters. See you next time.